Hey guys, welcome to Fourth Wall Reactions. Tonight I'm checking out the final episode of Game of Thrones, Season 8, Episode 6. This is the last episode of Game of Thrones there will ever be. I know that Episode 5, last week's episode, was kind of divisive, and I have my own very specific thoughts about it, but personally I'm going into this episode with the entire series in mind. From the first episode to last week's episode, just keeping everything in mind and just really excited to see how it's all going to wrap up. And without further ado, let's check it out. They're not going to be rallying behind this woman. Ho ho! Damn that shot. Oh my god. Yep, you did. Killed the people of King's Landing. Oh, Ho ho! Sneaky little one.
You'll always be a threat to her. And I know a killer when I see one.
Did you bring any wine? No. On a dragon's back, you've had that power. Would you have burned the city down? I don't know.
Oh, John.
Yes, you do. I love her too. Not as successfully as you. He doesn't get to choose. No. But you do. And you have to choose now.
A horrible position to have foisted on you, you know? Like, he really does not want this, but... Oh, hi! Nice dragon. Very nice dragon. Here it is. Okay. In her vision, she didn't get to touch it. I mean, congratulations, you're ruling over...
We do it together. We break the wheel together.
You are my queen. Now and always.
Oh. Oh my god. Look at that sad. Oh, here we go. Woo! Whoa. Oh my god. What? No more throne. What the hell is happening? Yara! Yay! in your Dorne.
If you look outside the walls of your city, you'll find thousands of Northmen who will explain to you why harming Jon Snow is not in your interest.
I like to think my experience has led to some small skill in statecraft and
Uncle.
understand.
You couldn't even light a barge. What the hell?
Please sit.
Thank you. Sorry. Oh, Sam. Please.
Why just us?
Oh my God. Will democracy come to Westeros?
Decision about what's best for everyone should be left to everyone.
Light bulb.
And Bran the Broken. The boy who fell from a high tower and lived. He knew he'd never walk again.
Bran has no interest in ruling, and he can't father children.
Good. Sons of kings can be cruel and stupid, as you well know. Never. Will you wear the crown? Will you lead the Seven Kingdoms to the best of your abilities?
Why do you think I came all this way?
Oh my God. Oh, Bran.
The North will remain an independent kingdom, as it was for thousands of years.
Well, of course he's going to say yes. Okay.
You will be my hand.
No, Grace. I don't want it. You cannot.
Yes, I can.
Yeah.
King.
He's
This man is a criminal.
He just got it. He's made many terrible mistakes. He's going to spend the rest of his life fixing them.
So our new king has chosen to send you to the Night's Watch. There's still Night's Watch.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Really?
A few years as Hand of the King would make anyone want to piss off the edge of the world.
Now, Daenerys had promised that the Ironborn would be independent, I believe. I wonder if Bran's gonna keep that. Aww. He's going to protect her people. That brings a tear.
Ned Stark's daughter will speak for them. She's the best they could ask for.
I can still go see him.
You can come see me, you know, at Castle Black.
I'm not going back north. What's west of Westeros? It's where all the maps stop. That's where I'm going.
You have your needle.
Right here.
Oh no. She's got a lot to say about Jaime. Gonna write about his final choice. Heartbreaking. Heartbreaking.
What's this? A song of ice and fire.
Oh, God.
What does he say about me? Don't believe you're mentioned. Sir Podrick. Serve at your pleasure, King Bran the Broken, ruler of the Six Kingdoms and protector of the realm. That will improve. I'm sure it will.
Pod.
once brought a jackass and a honeycomb into a brothel.
Oh no! Oh, I want to see Ghost. I want to see Tormund.
As you wish.
Eee! Hi. I know he's not happy to be there, but Tormund! Oh, it's beautiful. The commander again? I love this. It's an interesting take for her. That's an interesting new goal. Oh, baby. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Yes. That beautiful dire wolf. So I guess he's taking all the wildlings back north, joining them perhaps? Is that the implication? That's it. Yeah. All right, guys, that was it. That was the last episode of Game of Thrones ever. I'm going to start off just by talking about what I liked about this episode and what I liked about kind of the rest of the season a little bit. I do think that every single department of the production department was on point. I mean, the cinematography's never been more gorgeous. That amazing shot of the dragon wings opening up from behind Daenerys was jaw-dropping. All the lighting, the sets, the costume, Sansa's queen's costume, oh my god. Just everybody pulled out the stops to make this spectacle and to look at. It was just jaw-dropping. And I think that's been true over this. I know that, the lighting was just a little too low for the Battle of Winterfell. But it's at night, and, I will say that it was easier for me to see on the actual TV than the computer monitor. And I do think, regardless of where characters ended up or how you think things played out, I do think the actors brought it all. There were some amazing performances in there. And I think that even though more time could have been spent on story rather than spectacle, I think that the effects, particularly where Drogon and even Little Ghost were concerned, did tell a story. Those two shots, the two scenes, the scene where Drogon is nudging Dany just broke my heart. I'll probably cry just talking about it. Yep. And the ghost interaction that we got that we didn't get in the last episode. Should have maybe bit him just a little bit. Those were really beautiful and touching, and that's all down to both the CGI department and props to the actors interacting with things that are not there. Those scenes were amazing. I was extraordinarily touched by the Brienne scene where she's writing Jaime's story. I woke up this morning to all the fabulous memes of like what Brienne really wrote, like Jaime was a skanky, fugly slut, and all that. And the petty part of me thought it was hilarious, and I think that a part of me is like upset that, I mean, if you stopped and read what she wrote, that some of these events were kind of whitewashed, and some of them were just flat out incorrect. And she couldn't like scratch it out, like, because it still said that that Joffrey was murdered by Tyrion, so she could have, because they all knew it was Olenna Tyrell. I was a little disappointed to see she didn't write in the true story of the Kingslayer, but she wrote down all his deeds, some of them from an interesting perspective. I believe she wrote that Jaime had escaped imprisonment in the north and rode south to defend the capital from... Okay, Brienne. I saw a tweet this morning, which was really lovely, and it said, I'll put it up on the screen, that she gave Jaime the redemption he wasn't able to find on his own. Ah! That was heartbreaking. She was my favorite character. I'm so glad she survived the wars. I'm pleased she made it through the end and she stayed true to her character. I love that Davos survived. He's just has such a magic way with words. For someone who was illiterate, he has such a way with words. I love that Pod was knighted. Sir Podrick, yay! Found it incredibly odd that Yara was in this sort of council, but she wasn't around before for the fight. And that Bronn was around to be on the small council, but he wasn't around for the other... I don't know. I mean, it's just availability of actors, the shooting schedule. I have no idea. But it was kind of nice to see some of the people that we left by the wayside. I will say in the last few episodes, I was shocked there weren't more involvement in the battles and the confrontations, because Dorne had pledged their support, I think, at the last episode. They're here now, but, like, where were they during the actual battle? And where was Yara? It just seemed that everything fell away except for the North and King's Landing. And, like, where was the rest of Westeros in this whole scenario? I don't know. But they all turned up at the end, so okay, you got your curtain call. As to the episode itself, I do think while it looked amazing, the direction was just sluggish. I was going to be petty and go back and count the minutes that people spent walking from one place to another and that the camera tracked them. Right? You had the slow walk for Tyrion through King's Landing. I understand he was taking it all in. But my friends, that was a long-ass walk. It was just a freaking long-ass walk. And we had another long-ass walk for Jon. And then we had a long-ass walk for Daenerys. And I think in that first 20 or 30 minutes, if you edited down the endless walking that people did, that's more time for story. That's more time to wrap it up. That's more time for detail. That's more time for nuance and character work. I don't need to see 10 minutes of Tyrion walking. I just don't need to see it. Part of the issue, I think, that I see in comments we agree, and just commentary all over the place agrees, we wanted more time to develop all these things, develop the story, develop the characters. And, even though there were long episodes, which technically could have made up for that time loss. Like, okay, there's only 6, but they're all really long. And if you add up the excess minutes, they could equal, an extra episode or 2. I don't think they spent those extra minutes wisely. At least not in this episode. It's hard to believe that all those people on the council, without strong leadership... I think of a way to say this. With having an existing queen killed by a contending queen, and the contending queen then killed by a rightful heir to a throne, but then the rightful heir being imprisoned, and then there being a vacuum of leadership, basically. I'm really surprised there wasn't a second sort of military kind of coup and I don't know that... I think more people would have responded like Edmure or Tully, which was hilarious. Just making a play for the throne. I think you can melt down the throne, but this is a way of life for people in this world, and I think change takes a long time. And it was hilarious when the idea of democracy was just shut down completely. They just started laughing like, oh, give the peasants a voice. So it's not quite a democracy. It's not quite a monarchy. At least it doesn't pass down through bloodlines, apparently. I don't know how long that's going to last. I don't know that the wheel was broken. I think maybe the wheel was hobbled a little bit. The Lords of Westeros are some greedy ass motherfuckers. So it would have been interesting to see a little bit into the future and see how it played out that way. As to the fates of Jon and Dany and who ended up on the throne, I mean, I never thought that either Jon nor Dany would keep the throne. I did think that one of them would get the throne, but I think from the end of season 6 on, where you kind of found out Jon's true parentage and sort of piecing it together, and you could see that these two characters, Ice and Fire, were on sort of this collision course. And I think from that point on, I always kind of thought that, those are the top two contenders to knock the Lannisters off the throne. But I guess I figured because it was going to be contentious that whoever got it of the two of them would not be able to keep it, and that it would be the other one sort of sacrificing either their life or their right to it. Because that kind of played out how I thought it might. I wasn't expecting Jon to kill her in that moment. I was very surprised. I thought it was going to be like a bigger moment. It happened earlier on the episode that I thought it would, so I was pretty shocked. And I think it's a tragic ending for both of them. On one hand, you have this bastard boy who never knew his true legitimate parentage, and he always wanted legitimacy, though he never wanted the throne after he found out. And then you have this girl who had been exiled and believed all her life that she had a right to it. And sort of both of them were denied their heart's desires, which is a really tragic thing. So with that mindset, I really didn't know or have a favorite to end up on the throne, because I just figured it wouldn't be either of them somehow, just where the story was going. Bran, it's fine. Of the contenders that would have been left over, I would be a little more satisfied with Sansa. I don't think she ever had an arc that was leading her to that point, but I do think back to season 1 where she was talking about, I want to be the queen, and for her that meant just marrying into it and having the king's blonde-haired babies. So it would have been kind of nice for her to have ended up on the throne just in a totally different way. But we still got Queen Sansa, Queen of the North. I do wish it had been flipped, and that Sansa would be in King's Landing and Bran would be in the North. If you want, they could hang out in the Godswood all he wanted. But, I do think that as far as the conflict between the North and the South goes, throughout the whole show, and that's what really kicked the show off, was this, contention between the Starks and the Lannisters, the North and the South. I think the only way that was going to be resolved was having, some kind of agreement or connection between whoever was in King's Landing, whoever's in the North. And of course you have siblings, so that all works out. Okay. I'd remembered hearing What's West of Westeros, and in that moment I was like, what? Okay, where did I hear that? And then I realized, yeah, she said that. Arya said it. I was trying to remember where and when she said it, but I eventually remembered. I guess that's a fine sort of outcome for her. That's okay. I do think that a lot of the major characters ended up taking drastic turns in the last, 2 seasons versus everything that they had been building over the rest of the show. And I know I talked about it last time with Arya and her, build up to be, this faceless assassin and all of those skills. I mean, the fighting skills she put to use, but, the whole face changing thing, I thought was going to be utilized a little bit more. And then you have the abrupt shift last episode with her saying, oh, okay, I'm not going to kill Cersei. And now she's going to go off and sail to the ends of the world, which there's nothing wrong with that. It just doesn't track with the rest of like the entire buildup. And you see it also with Daenerys, because her whole thing has been about the Seven Kingdoms. And I agree that it's been, hinted that that's not all that it's been about. But that's what she's been saying. She has a right to rule the Seven Kingdoms. She's going to take her birthright. Bada boom. She took it. And the second that she burned down King's Landing, she gives a big speech talking about conquering the entire world. And again, she's not mad. She's quite lucid. She's the most lucid mad woman I've ever seen. I don't think she's mad. But I was thinking back to when Dario Naharis said to her, at some point, they were lazing around in bed together, and he said, you were not made to sit on a throne. Something like that. You were made to conquer. And I think that was her ultimate thing. She is a conqueror. She wasn't, it wasn't enough for her that she had just captured King's Landing and the Seven Kingdoms. Now we're going to turn around. We're going to go take the entire world. Okay. So yeah, it was foreshadowed, but just in that one comment, and then sort of just, I don't know, it just could have been built up better. So it ended up being a hard turn. Boom. I think Jon's story did take a hard turn, but I just think that was all in timing. I think both Jon and Daenerys' stories were always going to end in sort of tragic circumstances, but they built him up so much. Legitimate heir to the throne. He died. He was brought back to life. And only for him to reject the throne, and then he sacrificed his future to save the rest of the world, I suppose, which is worthy but also tragic that he had to sacrifice his future. I'm not sure if I ever bought that Drogon would not have. I was kind of hoping to see how much of a Targaryen he really is if Drogon were to crisp him up a little bit. I don't know. Not that I wanted Jon to burn to death, but I just wanted to see. Are you Stark or are you Targaryen? I know that thing is supposed to be pretty specific to Daenerys, so oh well. And that Grey Worm didn't just murder Jon, execute Jon. The fact that Jon survived any of this is shocking to me a little bit. And Bran, I mean, they were building him up to be the three-eyed raven, so him being suddenly made king, very hard turn. I'm not saying that he wouldn't be good at it, I'm not saying he's not suited to it, or that it's so far-fetched or something, but it's just not what they were building him up to be all this time, so I don't know. I guess my ultimate conclusion is that it's a acceptable wrap-up for what the show became, a less acceptable wrap-up for how it had started in the earlier years. I think there were just too many details and threads that they weren't able to deal with. Oh, just and a little side note, also surprised that Gendry's legitimacy didn't come into play, literally at all. Okay. I mean, it happened too late for that to be the case, but I just thought that something would have come of that. But anyway, tangent. For me, a semi-satisfying conclusion, and even though it's very disappointing to have an ending that may not have wrapped up, not even just the way you wanted it to, but just in a way that sort of made cohesive sense with the rest of it. You still have your favorite seasons and you still have your favorite characters. I loved season 6. I loved season 4. There were a lot of great moments in some of the other seasons. And even, 7 and 8, which are problematic compared with the others, even they had their really great moments. Those are going to be my takeaways from having watched this series. And we'll just see if the books will ever be finished, and we can all find out what could have been. All right, so you guys, what were your thoughts on this episode? How did you think it all ended up? Did it make sense to you? Were you happy with it? Who would you have rather seen on the throne? What shocked you? What didn't shock you? Go ahead and feel free to leave your comments below. If you enjoyed the video, please feel free to give it a like, a share, and a subscribe. I can't say join me for the next one because that is it. It is over. It is finito. But I can tell you, even if you've finished the books and are waiting for the next one and you want to read something, I have to make a book recommendation. If you've read a lot of fantasy, you've probably read them, but they're a little older. They're from the 80s and early 90s. An author, Melanie Ron, she wrote 2 high fantasy trilogies that were very heavy on the politics and the political intrigue. And so I don't compare her with Martin. So I'm not saying they're similar, but I'm just saying if that is your flavor, if you like high fantasy, sword and sorcery, the magic is very... there's a little more magic in it than Martin's books, but it's very, very specific and particular. So it's really fascinating. It's fascinating how it's interwoven in with the politics. So she wrote 2 trilogies, interconnected. One is the Dragon Prince trilogy, and one is the Dragon Star trilogy. I highly recommend them. Yeah, if you're looking to kill some time before George Martin finishes his books, check those out. All right, guys, thanks for watching with me. If you feel like sticking around and seeing what else I'm going to be reacting to, go ahead and subscribe. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to give it a like and a share. And I hope you enjoyed the show. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Ba 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 la 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 la. Dun 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 dun. Ba 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 ba.